We're holding now on page Chav Zayin of the old copies, the last leg of the Maamar. Tonight is Yud Shvat. We'll be concluding the Maamar today and hopefully starting a new Maamar as well. Ois Zayin. So the Rebbe is now going to conclude what we spoke about, that the Oir and Sof reaches down below to no end, and that is the part of the Oitzer that is revealed to be able to help us in our avodah, to be able to be successful in our avodah. So Ois Zayin, line 2, page Chav Zayin, line 3. Zel close in This is the general idea that's explained in this chapter 12 of the Hemshech of the Maamar of the Basi L'gani and the Frierdikeh Rebbe, to be able to understand the idea of the treasure above, and also the preciousness of the treasure. They open it up and they give it to the officers, and through the officers they administer it and to the actual soldiers. So initially explains the idea that the infinite light of Hashem goes down below to no end. As he's summing up from what he said before, it's the revelation and the expansion of the infinite light of Hashem in a way that is without boundary. The way it comes down here below to no end, even in the worlds of Bri Yitzirasi, which is lower than Atzilus, it's already created the world. Even over there, it comes down. Not only in the greatness of, or the great creations, or the greatness of the creation, means in the huge ones, the Tzva Shemayim and so on, which is understood and hinted in the words, how great and how big and how huge are your doings, in such a way that's a multiplicity to no number. That's the true idea of the Ein Sof. From this will be understood the great advantage and the great quality of the levels that are beyond and higher than that which we say that's below to no end. That's the other component, the flip side of the coin. The other side of the coin of what we said, that that the infinite light of Hashem goes down to no end. The flip side of that is that the infinite light of Hashem goes up higher to no end. From the understanding of how low it is, so even more so we can comprehend how much higher it is as well. Like he explains in the chapters following this in the Maamar, the Frierdikeh Rebbe, that's the treasure of above. The treasure of above is that level of the Lamayla Den Ketz, that we can get a perception, understanding of that by understanding how low it goes down. That is the point that he begins to explain in this part of the Hemshech. That from above they open up and they give out the sealed treasures. That's even higher than the infinite light that comes down here to no end. And the purpose in giving out the treasures through the officers to the actual foot soldiers, for the sake of the war. And this itself, that's for the sake of the war, and this itself, not the idea to be able to collect spoils of war, which means in the spiritual corresponding level is to be able to accomplish and receive and to have an avodah that's for the sake of reward, just like getting spoils of war is like the reward for the war. Until the most highest level of reward. That is not the purpose, that's not the true reason why these treasures are given out. Specifically, why are these treasures given out for the service of victory? That the will of the king should be fulfilled and completed. The will of Hashem's very essence, the Ein Sof. That's the way Hashem's very essence is enclosed in the will, that he wanted that there should be a victory. The way it's part of Hashem's very essence. And afterwards it comes down below to no end, till the physical world of, of action. Any questions before we go to the actual final paragraph of the Maamar? Okay, last page of the Maamar, page Chav Ches. This is also the general idea that the Rebbe brought down at the beginning of his Maamar, which is a summary of the entire Maamar of the Frierdikeh Rebbe up to chapter 12. In the general series of this Maamar of Basi L'gani, that the Shechina was primarily down here below. Afterwards it left. And this is the service of the Yid. To return and to draw down the primary Shechina the way it was initially. And this is accomplished through the Avodah in Torah study and fulfillment of mitzvahs. In a way of an army, that the way how he's fulfilling Torah mitzvahs is in a way of how soldiers act. Tzavam Lashon Chayil, the word tzava, as we said, one of the translations and the most common translation for tzava is the word army. What does it mean doing it in the way of an army, doing it in the way of a soldier? Doing it in the way of an army of a soldier means that one does it with Kabbalah soil. In the way of accepting the yoke of heaven without question, just following orders like a soldier does. We do it in such a way of becoming enclosed in a limited place, in a limited time. Like we said, that one of the translations of the Frierdikeh Rebbe's Maamar, they explains Tzav is also from a set time, a limited time. Another idea that's in the word Tzava is that it shows that it's an intermingling of levels. Tzavam Lashon Tzivyan v'Yofi. Tzav is in the word the unique beauty and the characteristics of it. That comes about through the intermingling of many colors. Intermingling of all the Jewish people, from the heads of your tribes till the choppers of wood and those that draw water. It's not just the external iskalos, the external intermingling of all Jewish people, but also within each one of us, there's also a iskalos of all the soul powers. Like we spoke about in this Maamar and Oizdal. Only when we have the intermingling of all the different levels, that's how we connect with the level of Hashem's oneness that's beyond number. The corresponding level in the soul of the level that we spoke about earlier from Paschal Yo, Antucha, that you are one beyond number, that is the purity, the simplicity of the soul, the essence of the soul. Through this, we complete and fulfill the supernal will that should be a home for the Eibishter. That in the home is found Hashem's very essence. The way it will actually become revealed. The Bias Malch Mashiach, and the coming of the Melch Mashiach, below 10 hands. Okay. Any questions before we go on? We have a new Maamar set up.
What does he mean by intermingling?
The intermingling comes from the unity and the oneness that there's to be found. Because there is a oneness of the essence, like we said, by the candle, the source of the candle is one, and because of that, it comes out intermingled in such a way that there's many, many lights coming out from it. But it's really one candle, one level of light.
He's talking about all Jewish people?
All Jewish people and the intermingling of all the different powers of the soul. He says both.
Not necessarily equality, just they should all work together, do their particular job.
It's both quality and quantity that we have
not equality.
Oh no, not equality, but it's an intermingling and a using of all of our powers in such a way that we make a complete whole. Okay, so we're going to start now on page Chav Zayin in this week's Dvar Malchus. I sent you the copies, the downloads, and for the first few pages, it's just going to sum up again the Maamar of the Frierdikeh Rebbe. Only by Ois Daled on page Lamed Beis on page 32 is where he's going to get into the Maamar of the Frierdikeh Rebbe. But I'll point out where the Rebbe adds maybe new points and new concepts to elaborate and elucidate what the Frierdikeh Rebbe is saying. Basi L'gani, I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride. Maybe I'll say the Maamar and the Frierdikeh Rebbe brings, that my father-in-law brings in the series of Maamar, that he published it to learn it on the Shabbos Kodesh of 10th of Shvat, the first time around, which was in Tafshin Yud 1950. The Rebbe adds over here that the Frierdikeh Rebbe published it not just to be learned on that Yud Shvat, but like the Rebbe made the custom to learn it every Yud Shvat, and also the following years after it. So the Rebbe adds that the Frierdikeh Rebbe's intention of publishing this was that it should be learned every year following that as well. So the Maamar brings Mashakosov Medrash Rabbah. It says in the Medrash L'gani. Why does it say to my garden L'gnuni, to my special place, to my place of pleasure, my bridal chamber? Meaning that when Hashem came down to this world by Matan Torah, it wasn't a new event, but was returning to a place where I was there initially. The Shechina was primarily down here below. And then through negative actions, the Shechina departed and went up above. Until the 7 righteous people, starting from Avraham Avinu, arose. They drew down the Shechina from above to below. Moshe came. He was the 7th of all these tzaddikim, beginning from Avraham Avinu. And all the 7s are favored. And he brought down the Shechina to my garden, until this low world and earth, that there's nothing beneath it. So the Rebbe adds over here, this is not something that happened just a one-time event through Moshe Rabbeinu, but this is constantly happening and constantly being strengthened through tzaddikim. Like it says, Yishkenu la'adalah, that they make the everlasting one reside upon it. And who are the tzaddikim over here? Not just like the tzaddikim that spoke about over there, the 7 tzaddikim, but it's the koyal amich kol tzaddikim. Here the Rebbe adds these words that when it says that tzaddikim yishkunu la'adallah is referring to your nation are entirely tzaddikim, meaning all Yidden are the ones that bring this about. Shall kol echad ve'echad mem nemar, that concerning every single one of the Yidden, all the tzaddikim that are the Jewish people, it says, Torah tzivalanu Moshe marasha kilos yankin. Torah was commanded to us by Moshe, which is an inheritance for the congregation of Yankov. So therefore, by the power of the Torah, by the power of Moshe Rabbeinu Arei, they are making rest, meaning they are drawing down the everlasting one upon it. This means top of the next page. They return and they draw down the Shechina down here below, in such a way of an everlasting thing. So now the Rebbe adds a new nuance to what it says. Tzadikim yirshu aretz v'yishkenu la'ad aleha. The normal taich, the way the Maamar always talks about, is v'yishkenu la'ad. They make the one who is everlasting come down upon it. The Rebbe adds to the la'ad means that they make that the Shechina should reside over here in an everlasting manner. Though the samshach that comes about through the service of sublimating the klippa and transforming the klippa. In such a way that the glory of the Eibishter rises and departs in all the worlds. Istalik, he says, similar to a yahrzeit that's also called histalkus. It's also called passing away. So passing seems to have a connotation not of like accomplishment, but it's leaving. It's something, if you want to say a negative, just like the passing of a tzaddik externally seems like a negative. So he says, it's explained at the beginning of the Hemshech. In a footnote, the Rebbe says on the Frierdikeh Rebbe's Maamar that why does the Zohar use the term when it's trying to explain that the Shekhinah is coming down. It's a hamshacha that tzaddikim caused that the Shekhinah should come down in this world. It's because it's such a type of hamshacha, such a type of revelation, such a way that the Shekhinah is rested, that it's not constricted, it's not in a boundary, it's not measured in the vessels. That's why it's called istalik. Not to tell you that it's not here, but it's here in such a powerful, like transcendent manner. Because of the advantage and the quality of it. So istalik is not trying to take away from it, but istalik is trying to say how powerful the revelation is, that it's beyond and transcends the limitations of the world. So, and the Rebbe also says in the Maamar Tafshin Aleph, that's the same thing of the stalkus of tzaddikim, that the passing of tzaddikim, though externally we call it passing, which seems to have negative connotations, but really the tzaddik is here in a much more powerful way than before he left this world. Then the Rebbe goes on, line 10, so it should be the drawing down also on the low matters of this physical world. Concerning this comes a command, they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I shall dwell amongst them. We take, how did they make the Mishkan? They took 13 things, or chamisha asur dvarim gashmim, or 15 things that are physical things. That have a lot of times in Parshas Truma speaks about that the Mefarshim discussed how exactly we're supposed to count the number of things that were used in the Mishkan. Some say the number 13, some say the number 15, and the Rebbe a few times will repeat this again: 13 and 15, 13 and 15. We took physical these items from this physical world, and we make from it a sanctuary. Concerning the Migdash, it says that I shall dwell. So the Rebbe brings down a lashon that it says in Chazal, Mishkan the Ikra Migdash, or Migdash the Ikra Mishkan. The Mishkan, the sanctuary, the Mishkan is called a Migdash, and the Migdash is called a Mishkan. Perhaps the emphasis over here that he's trying to say is that each term indicates something else. When we talk about Migdash, that's a sanctuary, it's a holy place, but it's not emphasizing the idea that the Shekhinah is coming down, Malash V'Shechanti. We say the word V'Shechanti, that the Shekhinah is coming down, so the Migdash component, that's holiness, the Kaddish component is not being emphasized. So that's why the Rebbe says that they're interchangeable, that when it says V'asuli Migdash in Parshas Truma, V'Shechanti B'Soichem, I shall dwell amongst them, the Migdash is the Mishkan, and the same thing, the Mishkan is the Migdash, are not two separate things. And how is that the Migdash is called a Mishkan? The idea is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shoichem B'Soichem, through Hashem residing and resting within them. And why does it say within them, not within it? To teach us that it's within each and every one. But in the heart of every single Yid, all of them are concerning him. It says, when it says concerning the donations for the Mishkan, it says, all who are benevolent of heart will bring it. So the emphasis of benevolence and heart is the Rebbe, as I think, associating this with the idea that the Mishkan is made in every Jew's heart. That's why it says Kol Nediv Libo Yiviyah. At Shloisha Asar or Chamisha Asar Advarim Shem Nasa Mem Nasa Mishkan, that they're bringing the 13 and 15 things from which the Mishkan is made. Again, this is This is all common stuff. I'm not going to stop now for questions. Let's finish and get to the part of our year. The primary part of the Mishkan, in other words, the actual building of the Mishkan, even though we said there was 13 or 15 items from which we made the Mishkan, but what was the actual bones of the Mishkan, the essence of the Mishkan? That was the boards, the beams. Like it says, we shall make the beams or the boards for the Mishkan, shittim, wood, standing. And the fire and he explains concerning this that the shittim wood is also from the expressional language of shtus, from the word folly or foolishness. This would Chazal say, a person does not transgress an aveda unless it enters in a spirit of shtus. So now the Rebbe is going to elaborate upon this. Why do we say that a person does not do an aveda unless a spirit of folly enters it? So he says, "Kilul is if not for the ruach shtus, how they call echad miYisrael lo shaykh lasses chal shalom is inin shein kertzayin avoda." Every single yid, it's not possible for him to do, heaven forbid, a particular matter that's not according to the will of the Creator. Like the Zohar says, "V'nefesh kisechta tvaha." When it says in Chumash Vayikra about the karbonis, and it talks about a person that sins, and because of that it brings a carbon. So the Zohar says tvaha, it's a wonder. In other words, you got to say not nefesh kisechta, but nefesh kisechta, and concluded with a question mark. The nefesh kisechta, a soul that can sin, the Zohar says it's a pella. How can that be such a thing? Even an idea of an unintentional sin, which is hinted in the word techta, chet, not pesha, not oven. Chet is an unintentional sin, especially over there. He's talking about the karbonis. The karbonis primarily were brought for unintentional sins. So even something that he does unintentionally against the will of the Creator, it's a pella. So why is it a pella? Why is it a wonder? So he says, even and it says that tzaddik will not occur. Occur means by mistake. It won't happen to him any bad. So in other words, a tzaddik is out of the question for him even to happen to him by mistake an aveda. An aveda b'shoigig, an unintentional sin, is also something that's out of the question. So therefore, since it's out of the question, and again, every yid by his very nature is really a tzaddik. So it's really a wonder. It's a matter that awakens a question and a wonder in the Torah of truth, in the Torah of life. That Torah truly wonders and says, with a question mark, as the Zohar explains, how can it be that a person could even do an inadvertent and unintentional sin? So it's only because of the shtus. There's the shtus of Klippa, that because of that he does the aveda. The shtus is that shittim lashon shtus. And this foolishness that we said before, shittim is an expression shtus, Kasher and Sheker is connected with the falsehood of the world. In the Maamar of the Frierdikeh Rebbe, he elaborates how the word Keresh is the same letters like the word Sheker, false. Hainu, what does it mean, the falsehood of the world? Though the truth of Hashem is everlasting, and it's also the world is manifest with Hashem's truth. Because maybe like the Rambam brings the idea of the truth of Havaya in the first chapter of the foundations, the laws of the foundations of the Torah, right away at the beginning of the Mishnah Torah. So though the truth of Hashem is in the world and is everlasting, so therefore a person should be cognizant of that and not really be able to do something against the will of Hashem. This truth is in a way that's concealed and covered. It's necessary to be able to recognize that the truth is that Hashem is everlasting and Hashem is the truth and the reality of the world. One needs to meditate with his Chachma Bina Das. Now the Rebbe is going to add that we find in the brackets, it says that in the brackets he's going to show how the Rambam himself hints at the need of using our Chachma Bina V'das to be able to recognize this truth of Hashem. So he says in line 20, like the Rambam wrote, what is the path for loving Hashem and being in awe of Hashem? when a person will meditate in Hashem's actions. So he uses Yizboinen from the word Bina. And he will see from Hashem's actions his wisdom. So we see Chachma. So we see Bina and Chachma. Leida Hashem Chulu, to know Hashem. So we see Das. So we see the Rambam already is hinting at the need to use our Chabad, our Chachma Bina Vadas, Kedei Levatel Sahelim Behester, to nullify this concealment and covering, which doesn't allow us to be aware of the truth of Avayim. Legalus Mizeh as Emes, and to reveal from this the truth. So now that's the same idea of building the Mishkan. We take the sheker of the world, we take the falsehood of the world, and we transform it, and we make from it a Mishkan. That's the idea of the making of the Kerashim of the Mishkan, the boards, the beams of the Mishkan from Shittim. That we take the foolishness and folly of the other side. Shtus and Sheker, that's connected with the falsehood of the world. The opposite of the idea of the everlasting truth of Hashem. Mishkan, top of page Lamed. And instead, we transform them and make them into beams and boards for the Mishkan. And not just any boards, but the Kerashim in such a way that the Kerashim are standing upright. And again, even though the Frierdikeh Rebbe emphasizes that as well, that it's standing upright, but here the Rebbe is going to give even a deeper concept to this upright standing of the Kerashim. So, as we mentioned the previous times, the Kerashim could have been lying on each other like a log cabin, but it's not that way. The Kerashim are standing upright. What is the idea of upright is? So first of all, he brings an interesting medrash. It's a medrash, like it's brought down the medrash. The Kerashim standing upright, and it's similar to the malachim that are called srafim, are standing from above him. In other words, in a way, we are what the medrash is trying to indicate. The way the Rebbe is explaining it over here is that we are tapping into this very high level that the malachim are upon him and above Hashem through this level of the oimdim. Since he says that oimdim is the word used in the Mishkan, the same concept of the oimdim and malachim are standing upon him, the most highest level. And then the Rebbe takes it a step further, not just oimdim, but because we're neshamas and we do are avoided down here, so therefore it's more than just oimdim. Adrab, even more so, line 4, that it's added to it the advantage of those that are traveling amongst those that are standing still. Like the Rebbe many times brings down the Maamarim, that the neshamas, especially the way they come down here in this world, are called travelers because their aliyahs, their elevations is incomparable to their previous level. Malachim are called standing still because all of their service is within a particular limited level. So the truth is, Yidden are the ones that are making the Mishkan. So since Yidden are the ones that are making the Mishkan, so they have not just the advantage of Oimdim, but they have more than that. They have the idea of being travelers. The kibush is a nas idea avodas ha'adam. Since this is being accomplished through the service of a person, that they are making the Kerashim to the Mishkan, they are transforming the world, like it says, "Vasisa, you shall do it," meaning Yidden do it. Shepoil is that a Yid affects the transformation of darkness to light and bitter to sweet. That's in a way of an increase. An increase that's incomparable to before. That's why it's called traveling, because they're breaking out of where they were previously to go incomparably higher. Until it becomes the idea that I shall dwell in a way that's beyond all measure and boundary. That's what it's called in the expression of Ginuni. Why is it called Ginuni? Ginuni means the special place where Hashem is there. That's the idea of a home for Hashem. Like the Rebbe always emphasizes, the concept of having a home for Hashem is that a person is there at home with his entire being. He's the same thing when we say Basi L'gani, L'gnuni, to my special place, to my pleasurable place, that the way Hashem is here in this world, the way he was and the way we bring him down in this world is in the way that he's enjoying himself. He's here with his entire being. Like the pasuk says, when Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash, though the heavens and heavens of heavens cannot contain you, Hashem himself, the still in all, this home, binichusa, in meaning it's not a question. The simple reading of the pasuk over there, it's a question. How could it be that a home in the physical world can contain the Eibishter if the heavens cannot contain? But we say b'nichusa. It's not a question. It's a statement. Specifically in this home, it becomes that I will dwell amongst them, beginning the way it's in the heart of every single Yid. And then from the heart of every single Yid, then after every heart donates, so from the heart, by making him within my heart a dwelling place and a home for Hashem, so then it expands into the world as well. Gamba Mishkan Dikra Migdash, also into the Mishkan that's called a Migdash, and even further, Va'adla Migdash Kipshuta, until the literal Beis HaMikdash, top of page Lamed Aleph, Va'adla Beis HaMikdash Shlishi, till the third Beis HaMikdash, Begula Mitzvah Shlema, and the true and complete redemption, speedily in our days, Mamish from Mashiach Tzidkenu. Any questions before we sign off for the day?